The jury has three questions in front of them. Did OpenAI breach a charitable trust? Was there unjust enrichment? And did Microsoft knowingly participate? And none of those questions care who looked worse on the stand.
This is Musk versus Altman Daily. The jury's out, the arguments are done, and Wired just ran a piece literally called The Real Losers of the Musk versus Altman Trial. So, yeah, we're going there.
TechCrunch is the legal anchor today. Trust isn't a vibe here, it's the threshold question. And with $150 billion in requested damages sitting in the background, 12 jurors are trying to figure out what non-profit mission meant on paper.
150 billion. Just let that sit for a second. Then we can talk about who the real losers are.
Here's Anthony Ha at TechCrunch.
But as Kirsten Korosek, Sean O'Kane, and I noted on the latest episode of TechCrunch's Equity podcast, a big theme in the trial's final days was whether OpenAI CEO Sam Altman is trustworthy. For example, Musk's attorney Steve Molo grilled Altman about whether statements he'd made during congressional testimony were truthful.
TechCrunch keeps coming back to one word: trust. Not as a soft concept, as the legal gate the jury has to walk through. The three questions are breach of charitable trust, unjust enrichment, and Microsoft's knowing participation. So yeah, credibility testimony isn't side color. It's doing real work on at least two of those three.
Kirsten Korosek at TechCrunch makes the point pretty plainly. We can't actually verify all of this because these are privately held companies and a lot of it is still behind the veil. So 12 jurors are being asked to sort out who's more trustworthy in an industry that makes outside scrutiny really hard. That's not exactly the system firing on all cylinders.
The press is already sketching out a verdict the jury hasn't even handed down yet. Tim Fernholz's headline, "Who Trusts Sam Altman?" is basically Wired's real losers argument turned into a question. Both sides left this courtroom in rougher credibility shape than they came in, and now that whole record is public.
And Musk is still asking for $150 billion. That number deserves more air than it's getting. He flew to China mid-trial, his lawyer apologized to the court, and the ask is still $150 billion. Whatever winning means here, it's hard to see how that means anything good for anyone outside the courtroom. Closing arguments are done, and the jury's deliberating, but I keep circling back to the same question. Is this really a case about broken charity law, or is it just 12 people deciding whether they believe Elon Musk or Sam Altman more?
It's both, honestly, and that's what makes it so messy. At bottom, the jury is weighing the legal claims that OpenAI and its leaders breached a charitable trust and unjustly enriched themselves when they shifted from nonprofit to for-profit, and that Musk was misled along the way. NPR and CNN both reported Musk's team framed it as basically looting the nonprofit, his words from the stand, while OpenAI says the restructuring was a legitimate move for an insanely capital-intensive industry. But the legal questions and the credibility questions are tangled together because so much of the evidence turns on what people privately said and agreed to years ago. Musk's lawyer literally opened Altman's cross by asking, "Are you completely trustworthy?" Which tells you the strategy right there. The 3-week trial brought in a long list of witnesses, and closing arguments kept zeroing in on Altman's integrity and the behind-the-scenes maneuvering that reportedly alienated colleagues. So the jury has to decide, were there enforceable commitments that got broken? And do they believe the people making that case?
Given how famous, and frankly how polarizing, both of these men are, was there ever a realistic shot at a jury that could walk in totally blank on Musk and Altman?
That was a real concern before trial. CNN said it outright before jury selection. Regular people, many of whom may not know much about AI, would be deciding OpenAI's future. And the celebrity factor on both sides made impartiality genuinely hard to guarantee. What to watch now is whether the verdict tracks the narrow legal claims or whether it reflects something broader about how the jury read those two men over 3 weeks on the stand. Because if Musk wins, the remedy could reshape how OpenAI is governed and structured going forward. Here's MIT Technology Review.
In the final week of the Musk versus Altman trial, lawyers traded blows over Elon Musk's and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman's credibility. Altman was grilled on his alleged history of lying and self-dealing involving companies that do business with OpenAI. But he fired back, painting Musk as a power seeker who wanted to control the development of artificial general intelligence, AGI, powerful AI that can compete with humans on most cognitive tasks.
MIT Technology Review's Week 3 recap turns the final stretch into a credibility contest. Altman grilled on lying and self-dealing, Musk painted as a power seeker chasing AGI control. But the jury isn't grading on optics. TechCrunch's breakdown is the reminder here. The 3 questions are breach of charitable trust, unjust enrichment, and Microsoft's knowing participation. So both guys looked bad is not a verdict.
12 jurors are being asked to choose between 2 men whose lawyers literally put mugshot-style photos of each other on a giant courtroom screen. That's not jurisprudence. That's a vibe check with subpoenas.
And while the jury works through those narrow questions, Musk is sitting on a $150 billion damages ask. Worth saying plainly, because the gap between what the jury is technically deciding and what an award that size would actually mean is enormous.
Wired had already run a piece called The Real Losers of the Musk v. Altman Trial before the jury even came back. The press is writing the verdict before the jury does, and their answer isn't Musk or Altman. It's the idea that a for-profit company can self-regulate its way to safety.
Here's the Indian Express.
A lawyer for Elon Musk hammered at the credibility of OpenAI CEO Sam Altman on Thursday near the end of a trial over whether to hold the ChatGPT maker and its leaders responsible for allegedly transforming the nonprofit into a vehicle to enrich themselves.
The jury has 3 questions in front of them right now. Did OpenAI breach a charitable trust? Was there unjust enrichment? And did Microsoft knowingly participate? That's the whole list, not who's the worst billionaire? Those 3 specifically.
And sitting behind door number 3 is a $150 billion damages ask. Musk skipped closing arguments, flew to China, and is still putting that number on the board. I just want somebody to say out loud what winning looks like at that scale. Because it's not justice, it's a scoreboard.
OpenAI's closing shot was basically, you waited too long, and you weren't even that important. Quote, all Mr. Musk can do is come to court. That's a credibility attack dressed up as a punchline, and the jury heard it.
Wired already ran a piece called The Real Losers of the Musk versus Altman Trial before the verdict. The press is writing the jury's homework for them. And honestly, the answer isn't Musk or Altman. It's the whole fiction that a for-profit company wraps itself in a non-profit charter and the mission stays intact.
Maxwell Zeff, Paresh Dave, writing in Wired.
But regardless of the outcome, there is a wide set of losers in this case. Based on ample amounts of evidence, it appears that the people worst off are the employees, policymakers, and members of the public who believed in the mission of a nonprofit research lab and supported OpenAI because of it.
Wired's Maxwell Zeff and Paresh Dave put it pretty bluntly today. The real losers aren't Musk or Altman. They're the employees, policymakers, and members of the public who took the nonprofit mission seriously. That's not the legal question, but it is a fair read of what 3 weeks of testimony left behind.
Wired basically wrote the cultural verdict before the jury came back with the legal one. And the headline isn't Musk wins or Altman survives. It's that everyone in that courtroom was really building the world's leading AI lab. Nonprofit wrapper be damned.
To be precise about what the jury is actually deciding, TechCrunch laid out the 3 questions: breach of charitable trust, unjust enrichment, and Microsoft's knowing participation. None of those ask who had good intentions. The optics trial and the legal trial are running on separate tracks.
And Musk is asking for $150 billion on those tracks. He flew to China mid-trial, skipped closing arguments, and the number on the board is still $150 billion. I just want that to sit there for a second.
Got thoughts on today's Musk versus Altman story? A tip we should chase or a correction? Send us a note at musk-Altman-daily@lanternpodcasts.com. We read what you send. You'll find links to every story we covered today in the show notes, so if one of them deserves a closer read, that's the place to start. That's Musk v. Altman Daily for this Monday, May 18th. This is a Lantern podcast.